YouTube, welcome to today. Today is going to be interesting. So, hang on. All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership Blend with yours truly, your host, Ricardo D. Rice. It is an interesting day today, needless to say. It's not, I don't know, it's such a in-between day. It's not rainy, it's not cold, but it's not sunshiny. It's just kind of Atlanta. I've learned to accept the weather in Atlanta lately because it's just been all over the place. Um, so it is what it is. But I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a weekend full of work as usual. But I will say that today begins the first day of a great week for me. So as many of you know that follow me on social media, I will be going to cover the red carpet at the Stellar Awards on Saturday. So today we actually have Mr. Thank you. So yes, I am really excited. Most people that know me, okay, this is where we get into the conversation that we were having last week when Shamir and Sharnay, two of the interns, were here, and we were talking about introverts and extroverts and, the attributes of both and what they like to do and what they don't like to do in matters of business. Okay, so this is where I become an introvert because doing red carpets and talking to celebrities and things of that magnitude is not my thing. Yes, I can talk on the radio. Yes, I have no problem public speaking. But to be on a red carpet and having to be cute and insightful and all that good stuff, that's not really my thing. So this is where when I said I'm an extrovert with introvert tendencies, this is where that comes into play. So doing this weekend is going to be so out of my comfort zone, but I'm beyond excited because most people that know, especially since we're on an AM station, that the Stellar Awards is the biggest gospel music award ceremony in, I want to say, the world, because I don't know if there are any others. Outside of the Dove Awards and Trumpet Awards, but the Stellars have been around. This is their 33rd year. So the Stellars have been around for 33 years, and they honor gospel elite. So you're talking, I think Kirk Franklin is actually hosting this year. Okay, so I've seen Kirk Franklin, but I've never actually met Kirk Franklin because I did go to a taping of Sunday's Best, I think twice actually. The year that, what is her name? It escapes my mind. Amber Bullock won, and the year that Joshua won. So I've been to tapings, so I don't feel as bad because I know that Kirk Franklin is actually shorter than me, so I don't feel as bad. So yes, this year is the 33rd, and it will be premiering on TV1 on March the 30th, but we actually tape it on March the 25th, which is this Saturday. So there's going to be performances by Snoop Dogg, Mary Mary. Actually, Mary Mary is going to be doing a reunion, so I'm excited about that. Tasha Cobbs Leonard is going to be there. Travis Green, Anthony Brown and Group Theory, Kiara Sheard. Kiki White is actually performing, I believe, this year, so that's exciting for me because Kiki White is amazing, even though she's not a gospel artist, but I've heard her sing gospel music. She's phenomenal. The special award honorees this year is James Cleveland is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award by Tamla Mann. Ambassador Dr. Bobby Jones will be getting the Legends Award. And Ben Tankard is actually becoming a Stellars Honors Hall of Fame inductee, which in a treat today, it looks like I will be talking to Mr. Tankard in the latter segments of the show. And just to give a little bit, I had to look him up, I'm not going to lie. I had to look him up. And when I looked him up, I realized that he has the reality show on Bravo, Thicker Than Water. So he'll be calling in today, 11:40. Yes, that is new for me. Most people know I do in-house guests, but it's an honor to have him on since he's definitely going to be an inductee at the Stellar Awards this year. In his credits, he was an NBA pro at one point, and then he had an accident which put him out of it, and he went to his passion, which was music. And we're going to ask him some questions. You know how I am about my questions, so we're going to ask him some questions today about what he's done. Because, again, he's an inductee, so that's an honor in itself. And also a little bit more about the Stellars. It looks like Anthony Brown and Group Therapy have 10 nominations. Tasha Cobbs Leonard has 9 nominations. J.J. Harrison and Youthful Praise have 9 nominations. And Travis Green also have 9 nominations. So they're up for that many Cellars Awards. Congratulations to them, because that is also an honor. So yeah, today is going to be a very interesting show. Like I said, he'll be calling in the latter part of the show at about 11:40. So definitely want to listen into that, because I do have some great questions for him. Just looking at his background, he's a great and phenomenal individual. So we're looking forward to that a little later in the show. All right, so today, for those of you that do and don't know, of course, I wrote my book, Calculated Conflict, and today I want to go over some of the points in that, because it's all leadership. So, at the end of the day, most people who are in leadership or in management, either they've acclimated to that point, or some of them have just been promoted to that point. Most times, those of us who are seniors, and by senior, I mean we've been with the company for a bit, or, we've been around for a minute, we typically end up getting promoted to leadership. Well, most of the time, that's our aspiration. Getting into leadership and getting into management is a thing that, it puts you in the limelight. It allows you to exercise those skills and abilities that are on the inside of you. But oftentimes we get into management, we get into leadership, and for some of us it's a natural skill, and for others of us it's not. So you get into it, and you kind of learn and you maneuver things, and my hope and my desire is to give people the skills that they need to not just fall into leadership, but be prepared for leadership and management, and become better at management and leadership. So where do you begin? I had a conversation with one of my new associates, and he was like, well, what is, how do you get into leadership? What is that all about? And leadership is just this innate ability that individuals have to have influence or power, and power is a very strong word, so I use it very loosely, to have power over individuals, that they want to follow you, they want to, go where you go, they want to take your derivatives and execute those things. So when you think about leadership, you think about great leaders, and instantly most people think about leaders like Martin Luther King and for lack of a better terminology off the top of my head, President Barack Obama, people that you think of off the top of your head. But there are also other types of leaders that you may not want to resort to, but they were leaders, and the level of charisma and influence they had is something you do want to consider, because leadership can go any type of way. So then you start thinking about leaders like Adolf Hitler, who people go, oh my God, why would you use him as an example? Because the level of influence that he had over his particular group of people was so strong that they were willing to commit genocide on a whole nother race. So it shows you the power that comes with leadership. So, where do you begin with leadership? Well, you can always look at the different styles of leadership. What are those styles? Well, you have transformational leadership, which is typically, when you think about transformational leadership, the name implies what it is. So it's all about transforming individuals, or making them better, or helping them to be better. I'm going to be very, when it comes to the word empowerment, because people love to use this word. And I used to use it too, until a mentor of mine brought it up, and he was like, yeah, you have to look up what empowerment means. Okay, to empower someone kind of implies that you're giving them power. That's a very strong statement. So when people use that, especially leaders and managers, because I've seen, where they have, we want to empower people, and we want to make their lives better, and that's great. But be mindful when you use the word empower, because again, to say I empower somebody implies that you're giving them something that they may not already possess. So I don't really use that term very often, because a lot of times a good leader taps into the potential that's already sitting dormant inside of your subordinates or your employees. So to say that you're empowering them or to give them power is a very strong statement. In essence, especially with transformational leadership, what you're typically doing is tapping into the potential that they already have that they don't have access to. So I don't necessarily say that you can call that empowerment. It's more like direction, or it's more like driving them into something they may or may not know they possess. So transformational leadership really revolves around that ideology. It's the ideology that you are able to spend time with an individual or tap into potential that your subordinates or your employees may possess that they are not aware of. So a transformational leadership, when we think of that, we typically think about pastors or people in the nonprofit sector, but it's not limited to that. You can find a transformational leader in your local Walmart, somebody who can speak to individuals who may not display attributes or display talents, but you know they have them. For case in point, so let's say that you're working in a high school and you meet a guidance counselor, and this guidance counselor can take kids who have no attention span, have no interest in what you're teaching, but they can walk in a room and give a small synopsis or give a small lecture, and the whole room changes. And we see that. We've seen that. I know many of us have seen those kinds of leaders. You know, let's say you have a panel of managers, and case in point, at my job, my part-time job, we had our first general manager. He had this very lax personality, and we used to always make fun of him. But out of all the managers, he could walk in the room, and we could be like, we don't want to hear nothing any of y'all have to say. And he could walk in the room and say, okay, you guys, I need you, we're trying to make a sales goal, and we're only $200,000 off from it. We're going into the weekend. I know you guys can do this. We're going to do this. This is what it is. And even in that short sentence, he could brighten the whole room and change the morale of the room. That's what you call a transformational leader. So yes, I would classify Dr. Martin Luther King under that, because with all that was going on with the fight for civil rights, and you have the sit-ins and the marches, people could be worn out and tired, and Dr. King could walk into a room and give a lecture or give a sermon, and the whole room changes. Or, the ideology of the people changes. Remember, he was able to talk to all ethnicities, all races, to get them to not, in essence, conform, but get them to sit down at a table and listen to the other side. That is an example of transformational leadership. Having that ability to transform the mindset, having that ability to transform, the intentions of people. So it's a very powerful gift. Then there's situational leadership. What is situational leadership? Well, the name kind of implies what it is. A situational leader is somebody who can go from any type of situation and adapt to that situation and take on the attributes that are needed to drive the team home or drive the subordinates to where they need to be. In essence, I kind of think of myself as a situational leader, because it doesn't matter what situation I'm thrown into. There's something on the inside, or the level of intellect that I have, or the knowledge. And now, mind you, because of Google, you're able to do a lot of things you normally would not be able to do. So let's say and people have to, and I want leaders and managers to be mindful of this. When you go into arenas that you're not knowledgeable about, or you're sitting on a panel and, you come in for one thing and they tell you when you get there, oh, well, we were going to be talking about sweeps week, or we were going to be talking, and of course, he's going off the top of my head. Or we were going to be talking about management and leadership. And now we decided we're going to shift gears. So we're going to be talking about transactional leadership. And you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, you have a cell phone. So you go on Google. Wikipedia is a nice place to start when you just want general information. But be careful with that. I only go to Wikipedia when I'm trying to get a basis for information, like some place to start from. It's not where I get the be-all, end-all information. But let's say you need information on the fly. You go to Google, of course, .gov, .org are always your better bets. But you pull out your phone real quick and you look up transactional leadership. Bam, the information comes up. There's some other, Chrome is a very good one. I think it's a type of magazine. Chrome typically comes up when I'm looking up business type stuff. But that comes up really quickly. You look at it, you get a brief synopsis, you go for it. So Google releases you from all excuses to not be successful in any arena that you go into. But we're going to put that on pause, and when I come back, I'm going to look at transactional leadership and situational leadership. So stick around the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. All right, everybody, we're on our first break. So I was just kind of talking about leadership, situational leadership, transformational leadership, those kinds of leaders. You're welcome to ask questions, stuff like that. And as you see, I'm looking through my book because I said I was going to go for my book today. So I'm looking through my book to see where I want to go next. All right, everybody, we are back on this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Trichology Rice. Okay, so FYI, yes, I am looking through my own book to pull out the points for today. So if you're curious about the information I'm talking about and you actually want to get enmeshed in what I'm talking about, head on over to Amazon.com and look up Calculated Conflict. That's Calculated Conflict by Ricardo D. Rice. Rice with a W always when I say Rice. And like I said, the book is not that thick, 50 pages, but it looks almost like a pamphlet, which always amazes me because I don't know how to scale down anything. But this book is so thin that it's a very easy read, and it does a synopsis on everything that I'm kind of going into today. So when I left, we were talking about situational leadership. And situational leadership is one of the more flexible styles. You, in essence, are able to adapt to every situation that you encounter. And of course, that requires you to have an arsenal full of skills and attributes and just knowledge of different types of situations. But when I was going to break, I was saying there's really no excuse now to not be a good leader. Because, when it comes to information, which typically is what sets a lot of leaders apart, not only is it skill and just innate ability, but it's also the knowledge. On my blog last week, at calculatedconflict.blogspot.com, I was talking about the different types of power. There are different types of power. So I was talking about those last week, and one of those types of power revolves around knowledge. And the ideology is that your subordinates, and this is where a lot of people fall short because they don't realize that it makes a difference. A lot of your subordinates would respect a lot of you a lot more if you were more knowledgeable about who you're leading, the product you're offering, and the packaging of the product you're offering. And that goes to the most simplistic point ever. Case in point, let's say you're a manager at McDonald's. Okay? Because I've done this. So let's say you're a manager at McDonald's and you take the time, you get promoted to management. And again, I want to take this to the simplest level. And the simplest level is, and let me say this, for all my fast food managers and those that are running McDonald's and Burger Kings and Pizza Huts and Taco Bells, first of all, I commend you, I salute you. I have done that. That's where I got my start from. So I salute you, I commend you, because if you can do fast food, you can do any type of leadership or management on the planet. Yes, that is a very big statement. I'm saying that because when I tell you, those individuals not only have to think quick, they have to be good on their feet, they have to be knowledgeable. Doing fast food prepares you for anything because, again, you have to be so quick. My first management job was Burger King. And no knock to Burger King, but in my day, and we're talking about in like 96, 97, 99, Burger King was almost prehistoric because their registers were a little outdated. We were kind of behind the times. So I used to always get put in drive-through because I was one of the quicker employees. So I would get put in drive-through, and back then, you couldn't put in, somebody gives you a $20 bill and their total is $10.29. You had to figure that out in your head. And like I said, I'm in drive-through. So my turnaround time is like matter of minutes and seconds. So there was no putting in $20 and the computer telling you what the change was. I had to literally think about that, and thank God, shouts out to my father for teaching me how to, what we call, count backwards. So, the total was $10.29 and they gave me a $20 bill. I had to be able to think about how to count that money back to give it to them in seconds. So yes, generations after us, you're welcome because, we had to teach you guys how to count money back because there was no putting in totals and the computer giving you change, especially when you were running a drive-through. So, the point is, those individuals that are doing fast food, shouts out to you guys. I promise you, as hard as it is, if you can master it and learn how to be effective at it, it prepares you for everything that you've done. Because for me, after I left fast food, I went on to be a manager for Tommy Hilfiger, and you're talking about 2000, 2001, when Tommy was thebomb.com. So, people were knocking themselves over to buy Tommy Hilfiger because you got to think about it. Aaliyah's still alive, so she's the face, she's the first, in my head, brand ambassador who showed us how to do it right. Because, Aaliyah's wearing the Tommy Hilfiger paraphernalia. She's doing the commercial. She's beautiful. Everybody's like, oh, my God, I want like Aaliyah. She's wearing Tommy Hilfiger. So I will never forget, one night, Black Friday, which is the day after Thanksgiving. Well, it used to be the day after Thanksgiving. We closed, and I remember counting $86,000 in one night, and that was just the latter part of the shift, all in one night, and it was just me, and I had to count that money by myself. But the point that I was trying to make is about understanding your product and having the working knowledge, so that when your employees come to you, you're not saying, "Oh, well, I don't know," or "I don't know, ask the other manager on duty." You know, if you take the time to master your field, your arena, your area, it gives your employees or your subordinates a whole nother level of confidence in your leadership abilities. Because, you know, then they can say, well, and again, another example is at my part-time job. You know, I'm kind of the go-to guy for events. So they come in and say, well, we don't know the answer. They go ask Ricardo. So there's a certain level of knowledge and certain level of respect that goes with my leadership abilities, because people feel like I know what I'm talking about. So, you know, I think that's the part that we forget, that when people know that you know what you're talking about, the level of respect is higher. So they want to sit down with you. They want to follow you because they have a belief that you're not going to steer them wrong. And in leadership, that's very important, because if you're trying to get your employees, or let's go to a higher level. Let's say you're an owner or operator, and you're trying to get your managers or your leaders to be better, so that not only does your productivity go up, but, you know, your money, your bottom line goes up. So you have to have a working knowledge of your skill set and your product. So your managers will be able to say, you know, something goes wrong in the restaurant, you're not telling them, "Oh, well, you know, call such and such and such." You know, they have the confidence level to say, "Hey, you know, we're dealing with a certain level of productivity that we just can't seem to make. You know, can you advise us?" And you're able to step up. Now, in that regard, you put on the transformational leadership hat and give them one of your inspirational talks, so that when they get off the phone, they feel almost empowered. And I said almost, they feel almost empowered to be able to tackle the world. So that when they go back out and deal with their employees, they're able to say, "Hey, you know, I just got off the phone with our owner-operator, Ricardo," and I was speaking that into existence because I do want to own McDonald's at some point. That was a little FYI, a little segue. "Hey, we just got off the phone with our owner-operator, Ricardo. You know, I know we've been struggling with productivity lately, but, you know, he was saying that we should do X, Y, Z." And all of a sudden, because of a knowledge that they now possess, the employees go, "Oh, well, you know, now we kind of know where we're going. Okay, well, now I know where we're going. So, hey, now I'm ready to go." But Charnay just chimed in, just walked into the studio. So say hello to everybody.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
She's in. So I don't know if you were listening. We were talking about knowledge, and when you have a leader who seems knowledgeable about what you guys do, your employees or your subordinates are more inclined to follow them, because they feel confident in their leadership abilities to say, "Hey, you know, Ricardo knows what he's talking about, so I don't have a problem following him." So now, you know, our productivity is shot up. You know, the company culture is better because people feel empowered. And there's that word again. I try not to use it. The only reason that word is coming up today, I just want to say, is because I was talking about it. Because normally I don't even use that word that often. But okay, we'll use it today because it fits the context of what I'm talking about. So again, company culture is great. People feel empowered because they know that the manager or the leader knows what they're talking about. So they feel more confident in their leadership abilities. So have you ever encountered a manager like that? A manager or a leader that, because of the knowledge they possess, they may not have the best attitude, they may not be the most optimistic person, which I will say I am guilty of. I am what I call a realist. So I see situations for what they are. I don't live in a world of unicorns and rainbows, but I also don't live in a world of volcanoes and fire traps. I'm right in the middle. So I see a situation for what it is. And sometimes me and my coworkers get into it because they feel like I can be negative, but it's not necessarily negativity. I'm a realist. And being a realist allows me to see a situation for what it is. So if something goes wrong in it, I see exactly what's wrong with it. I can zero straight to it and troubleshoot what it is. So for all those people who are like me, that, you know, you're not necessarily sitting on rainbows and following ponies and unicorns, but you're not necessarily spilling venom and being hateful all day, you fall right in between. You're a realist. So you see it for what it is. So when the ship is going down, you can say, "Hey, I know what the problem is. I've already identified it because I know I've seen what it is." So you shoot straight to it. It's not a bad attribute to have. Trust me, in times of trouble, we're the ones they look for. But have you had a manager or a leader like that they had a terrible attitude, but because they had a knowledge that surpassed everybody else, you were willing to follow them?
Definitely. For me on the job, attitude is like very big, but at the end of the day, if I don't have the knowledge I'm trying to gain, that's the person I want to go to. I don't want to go to someone who just started or is not as high up as them. They know more. They can help me in any sense of situation. I think when dealing with someone who doesn't have the attitude that I guess the average employee would expect or want, you just have to come to them with logic. They're more prone to help you if you come to them and say, this is why I need you, versus just asking them all the time for something, for help.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, leadership and management, and let me say this, because we get into this a lot, and I know I'm on AM station, so sometimes I'm learning I need to address other types of things that run parallel to business, and I'm starting to fuss about this, especially to my pastor friends. Here's the harsh reality, and especially to my starting out pastors, because we are on an AM station. So to my starting out pastors or people in ministry, you being an effective leader is just as important as the call of God on your life. What does that mean? That means that God may call you, but you still have to lead man. So man is not like God. And you're going to, if you don't go into that with that, just that little synopsis, you're destined to fail. And I'm using that term very loosely, because if God called you or God chose you, you're destined to do great things. But he also expects you to learn the craft. And their leadership is a craft that oftentimes I feel like those in ministry and those in pastorships and apostleships feel like they're a little exempt from learning how to be effective leaders. And it segues me back to leaders who we look to when we think about certain platforms or certain levels of ministry. T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, all those amazing guys have taken the time to understand the dynamics of leadership. So if I was having a conversation with either one of them, I'm pretty sure they know what transformational leadership is, transactional leadership is, situational leadership, because they understand that there is a dynamic to leadership. So again, I'm going to, step back. I didn't want to say you're going to fail, because you're not going to fail, because if God has called you, He's empowered you. Now, He can empower you to be great at what you do. So yeah, He can empower you to do anything. So that was a very strong term. I didn't mean to say that, because you're not going to fail. But your ministry
could heed your success, is what he's trying to say.
Exactly, because your ministry, if you don't take the time to learn the dynamics of leadership, and this was a fight I used to constantly have with one of my former leaders back at home, because we use this term, especially in ministry. Oh, well, everything I need to know, God will teach me. He will. He gives you the intuitive to know, to navigate you through certain waters that are spiritual. But in certain waters that are natural, His desire for us is to be great. In order to be great, we have to understand the dynamics of man. And understanding leadership will teach you how to navigate the dynamics of man. But on that note, I'm going to take a break, and we will be back on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
Yeah, pastors. Pastors, they always use that. I hate to think of that, but when I think about what pastors use their power for, it all starts back to when slavery started, how they used the Bible to claim that that's why they were taking over lands and that they were. I'm Christian, by the way. I'm saying
I figured that.
I'm just saying people interpret it how they want to for their good, for their need.
Oh yeah, they twist and distort scriptures to do whatever they want to do. And like I said, I can say this because for some reason, every church that I've been a part of, I end up getting in the inner circle. So it never fails. I'm like, it never, even because the one of the churches that I attended, I intentionally went my very first time in jeans and a shirt. I was like, I'm not dressing up, because every time I dress up, I get highlighted. So I'm like, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm just gonna wear jeans. I'm gonna wear a shirt. Still got busted. I was like, oh my God. But a lot of those leaders, they never take the time to understand the dynamics of leadership. So, on that regard, they fail miserably when it comes to naturally, because they don't feel like they should learn how to be a good leader, or pick up a couple of books, to learn how to be a good leader.
I was thinking about that when you were saying how people, when you have a leader who is then they're familiar with your work, because you know that they didn't just get up to that position. I don't know, so they know the business, they know the ins and outs, and you feel like one of them, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, you want to, take the time to learn your business, learn, what you do and the product that you serve.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, and a product is not limited to something tangible. When you are a preacher, your product is, your sermons and your Bible studies. That's all your product.
Mm-hmm.
It's not tangible. You can't touch it, but it's still a product. Customer service is a product. You can't touch it, but it's still a product. All right, everybody, we are back to this week's edition of the Leadership Blend, where we're talking about, in essence, just leadership, because it's a conversation I kind of wanted to have, because like I said, I went over some of my notes, and I was just looking and just thinking about and reflecting about some of the leaders that I've encountered and what kept them from being great. And like I said, with my show, because we're on an AM station, we are broadcasting to a lot of ministry people. Pastors, preachers, bishops, apostles, things of that magnitude. And over the weekend I was thinking, I was like, today I really want to get into leadership. And again, my goal, because I'm kind of a hybrid. I've spent, for those that don't know, I've spent pretty much most of my adult life and some of my smaller life being raised in a church, going between denominations. So starting Baptist and then transitioning to what is called Holiness Apostolic, and just seeing the different dynamics of leadership just in these two denominations alone. That's not factoring in, Catholics, Presbyterian, all these other denominations. Yeah, Muslims, that's not even factoring them in. But you see all these different dynamics of leadership in these different regards. So it made me think about what is keeping, ministry-minded individuals, pastors, apostles, bishops, from being great, especially my apostles and my bishops. What is keeping them? Because remember, your job, an apostle says, is sent one. They're sent. So your job is to build ministries. That's what you do. So when you carry the title of an apostle, that's the expectation. So for me, when somebody says they're an apostle, my immediate question that follows that is, so how many churches you got? Because in essence, that's your job. A pastor's job is to lead a flock, to nurture them, to cultivate them. An apostle's job is to be, and I'm going to run them parallel. An apostle and a bishop, I'm going to run them parallel. Because both of their jobs, in essence, is to set up and ordain ministries. So when you tell me you're an apostle, to me, you're the highest in the spiritual food chain. So again, my first question is, how many churches are under you? What's the name of your reformation? What's the name of your movement? Because if you're telling me you're an apostle, you've been sent to some type of movement, sent to some level of shepherding shepherds. So, what's stopping a lot of apostles from being great? Well, a lot of them don't understand the dynamics of leadership. Shouts out to one of my former bishops, Bishop Benny B.L. James. I was getting ready to call his first name. He's going to kill me. Apostle B.L. James, Bishop B.L. James. Because I will say he was the first bishop I encountered who ran the dynamics of leadership and spiritual leadership together. And at first it was kind of like, okay, I don't understand what's happening right now. But as I began to study leadership, I gained a respect for him, and we still talking or close to this day because he understands the dynamics of leadership. Well, how did he do that? He read books. And he didn't limit himself to just books by, T.D. Jakes and all those great men of God. He crossed over and read, John Greenleaf and Blanchard and all these other individuals who talk about leadership. And let me say this, when we talk about leadership, transactional, situational, transformational, yes, these were written by people who may not be deemed spiritual people, but they didn't just limit these theories or these types of practices to just naturally minded people. These are across the board. So, it's okay to pick up a book, on servant leadership, which most of us know that we use servant leadership to talk about spiritual leadership anyway. Because servant leadership is talking about what the name implies. Do you know what servant leadership is?
No. I think if I'm thinking about servant leadership, that must be having to do with within the church, people having a complete understanding that being a servant is what you're there for. It's a calling. So you're there for the people to teach the word of God, and only that. I think that's what I get confused about, because I've been to multiple churches. I grew up in the church as well. I think that when a pastor or a bishop or apostle has the leadership quality of having all of their sermons at least speak to every person in the room, so everyone can understand. That's what's important to me. When I was growing up, and I was in my teenage years, I went to my dad's church. I didn't like it.
Why did you like it?
I didn't like it because, well, one time, this lady was walking down the aisle and someone poured a water bottle on her and she fell out. That type of stuff.
I'm only laughing because I know that I'm apostolic, so the fact that you say I laugh because I see it every day. So
Oh, really?
yeah, that's not uncommon too. Shouts out to all my fellow apostolic men. Shouts out to all my apostolic men and women, because we know that speaking in tongues, laying hands, somebody taking a bottle of water and throwing it out, and it being symbolic of healing waters, like the pool
Holy
of Bethesda,
water,
stuff of
prayer,
that magnitude.
oil.
That is not uncommon to us. Look, at some point when I hit TV, because I would hit TV eventually, I will write a memoir, and you want to read it just for one section. There'll be like 3 or 4 chapters just on apostolic movements and what I've seen. And trust me, you want to read this because Dr. Humans, if she's still around when I write this book, is going to be at the core of it, because the stuff that I've seen in holiness and apostolic, I can't, even when I explain to people, their eyes get big and their mouths drop because they cannot believe, because they know I don't lie. So they cannot believe that I've seen these things. But yes, I've seen demons literally cast out. I've seen all these things. Okay.
Wow.
Carry on with your point.
I mean, for me, it's like when I saw that, it didn't translate. But it was weird because I'm used to Baptist churches, but I've been to Methodist and I've been to, I guess, like more quiet churches.
What is a quiet church? Oh, okay.
More quiet
Charismatic churches. I wouldn't call them quiet.
More
quiet.
lively.
Charismatic churches.
Yeah, they can praise in a quieter tone, but
we're not going to use quieter. They just praise in a different
way,
a more tranquil and subtle
right,
way.
and it's still praising at the end of the day. But like you said, I've experienced tongues. I believe in tongues. I believe in the spiritual value and transcendence of prayer oil. But I think when I just saw a water bottle and like the way that she fell out, personally, it just did not look realistic. I was like, but I was a kid too, so I was like, what is going on here? I thought we just came to sing and clap, and I didn't understand.
What is this, 5-year-old, like, two alone sing and clap?
No, like 6 years old, I didn't really get the sermons. Like, I didn't understand struggle. So that's the thing that I feel like if we gonna get into that whole other subject, when it comes to the church, and keeping kids in it who were raised in it, they just can't be nailed into it. Like, I think you have to let them go through their own experiences and see the need for God, because it's going to be seen.
Yeah, and it won't take long. Like,
it won't take long.
It won't take long. Like, once you hit adulthood, like...
Yep, I need you.
Well, I think, but again, that in essence, that's another attribute of a good leader. And like I said, when you start talking about the different styles of leadership, which is the transformational, situational, transactional, when you start talking about the church arena, there are 2 types of that are going to stick, and that is going to be transformational, because in essence, the job of a pastor is to use the word of God to, and again, there's not really, let's be careful with this. This is where I get into people with sermon notes. I respect them. It's just when I switch denominations, I can count on one hand.
What do you mean by sermon notes?
There are a lot of times, particularly in Baptists, as I was raised in Baptist, a lot of them have sermon notes. There's nothing wrong with it.
You mean like when it's on the screen and stuff?
Well, I mean, now they put them on screens. Back then, they had a notepad that they
you
preached
like
from.
That?
It's not a matter of not. It's kind of okay. It's kind of like what I do in the studio. Like y'all know when I come in here, I don't have notes. I go off the dome and I kind of wing it based off everything that has happened. A combination of what's happened and what I'm feeling in that moment, and I kind of just go from it.
Right.
Sometimes reciprocally, you write notes, you have points and stuff that you go by, and I used to do that. Mm-hmm. And then as I matured in what I was doing, and plus I was put in situations, like, you go to a public speaking engagement or get put on the spot enough, you learn how to wing it.
You don't have anything.
Exactly, and it's kind of like you learn less to depend on notes and stuff, because you don't have that luxury. Because you get in there and especially for pastors, those that are really spirit-led, and like I said, this really gets into movements like Kojic, Apostolic, Holiness, people like that, they're so spirit-led, then things get a little different. But we have a caller now, so caller, you're on the air with Ricardo D. Rice and my intern, Charnay Greer. What is your question or comment? All right, everybody, so we have our caller who is calling in, and that will be Mr. Ben Tankard. So you are on the air. Good afternoon to you, sir. Okay. All right. How's it going, sir? Nothing much, sir. How's it going? Look, you big time. I had to look you up, sir, just to make sure I had my facts order. You're big time, so you shouldn't be using coupons. You should be sliding it over to me. I did not know that was possible. I've learned something new today, so just that fast, I've learned something new today. All right, sir. So everybody, this is Mr. Ben Tankard, and he is going to be one of the 2018 Stellar Honors Hall of Fame inductees. So congratulations to you, sir. We applaud you. We are...
Congratulations.
So you know I'm looking that up because I want to see that picture. I'm sure they have pictures of you with a jerry curl holding a basketball. Yes, I am in amazement, and actually this will be my first time going to actually be on the red carpet this year, so I am beyond excited and elated, and yeah, so gospel jazz, tell me, how did that happen? Absolutely. Oh, that'll get you. Wow.
Mm. So my show is about leadership. So tell me, because in that regard, you were a trailblazer. And I know from being in apostolic holiness churches, which it sounds like that's where you were, how did you get past the reception? Because I'm sure they did not receive that well, because that's just not the nature of, holiness. And because they're used, back then they were still using scrub boards and washboards with a hanger, I'm sure. So how did you get past the reception to keep going into what God had called you to do, which was this gospel jazz?
Oh, yes.
Mm.
Are we talking? Okay, are we talking about like the dog catcher on Friday, where Pops is riding around with the truck and they're having to put the dogs in these little container things in the back of the truck?
Oh wow.
You had a quota? Are you serious?
What? Wow, we gonna go to.
So okay. You heard it here first. Mr. Tankard was stealing dogs. You heard it here, trying to make a quota. That's how it really was in the streets. That's how it really was. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
Less than.
There it is.
Mm.
Wow.
That's definitely a calling. Nothing but God.
You know, there is something, and I talk about this all the time. There's something to be said about passion, and clearly your passion kept you fueled while you were catching them dogs out there. But all right. So tell me about, because I read in your bio when I was reading, I saw Yolanda Adams. Did you encounter Yolanda Adams, or did you discover Yolanda Adams? Because one of them said you discovered Yolanda Adams. Really? Nice.
Wow, they gave you a lot. Wow.
Sir, yeah, you earned your spot in the 28 Cellars, the 2018 Cellars. You've definitely earned your spot. All right, so now I'm guilty because, like I said, the name rung a bell, but I couldn't figure out why it rung a bell. So of course, because of Google, like I tell leaders, you have no excuse to not be great because Google gives you what you need on a moment, on the fly. So on the fly, I realized when I looked at your picture good who you were. So let's talk about reality TV, sir. Because don't you have a television show? You know I was going there, right? You know I was going to go there. Is that even possible to raise grown? Yeah, me and my dad fight about that all the time. I didn't. Yeah, good luck with that one.
Right, 5?
All right, so tell me this because there are not a lot of and I'll say because you're a pastor too, correct? Okay, yeah, I saw that. I saw about the pilot thing. So when I get my personal jet, I'm sure you'll be on yours, but you have to show my pilot how to fly my jet. Is that a good deal? Okay, that's a good deal, right? I want to make sure. I want to throw that out there. That's a good deal. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay,
Right.
exactly. All right, so because we have to go in a few minutes. Question. All right, my last question for you. It's a kind of it's not really a doozy, but it's a big one. All right. So there are not a lot of and I'll say gospel because you are in ministry. There are not a lot of gospel reality shows. I think I know about yours. Mary, which they just wrapped up. There's a complete series. What is that like for a gospel artist? Because I know that is inclusive or intrusive on your privacy, just in general. So being a pastor, how does that play out for you?
Mhm.
Yes, and that is the answer of the day. That is the answer of the day. People, if you're gonna do it and you know you're gonna do it anyway, get paid for it. Just get paid for it. That's
Amen.
all right, sir. It's been great talking with you. Because we're getting ready to leave on today. But congratulations. I
Congrats.
look to see you on Saturday when I'm on the red carpet. You see me wearing, I don't know what I'm doing where. First time out. But I hope we will get able to see you in person. Look for me. I'll be on the side. You'll be on the red carpet. I'll be on the side trying to get your attention. But again, congratulations. You absolutely deserve it. And you have a great day, sir. And thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
I think I can make that happen. I think I got you. Oh, no problem. You have a good one. All right, everybody. So that was our interview with Mr. Ben Tankard, and he is one of the Stellar Honors Hall of Fame inductees, which will be taking place on the Stellar. Again, I will be on the red carpet. I guess I'm wearing red shoes and purple socks so that Mr. Tankard can see me, and hopefully I can get a ride in that private jet. But, it's all good. So, yeah, we have, how much time we got left? We have 2 minutes. All right, so in those 2 minutes, going off what Mr. Tankard was saying, and he was a very good example of what passion looks like. Him saying that he had to catch dogs because what he was doing, and this is where we get into trailblazers, and I want to give a quick word of encouragement to all the trailblazers. Do you know what trailblazer is?
Yes, it's when someone comes. This is Sharnax, by the way. The trailblazer is someone who, regardless of their circumstances, still makes it happen. That's my definition of trailblazer. What do you think?
That's a good definition. The trailblazer is somebody who, in essence, blazes a trail. They're going down something. It was self-explanatory. I thought you was going to say that, but you didn't.
No,
So
I was always taught not to use the same word in the definition.
Some words are self-explanatory. That one, trailblazer, is self-explanatory. So it's somebody that blazes a trail, or somebody who's the first to do whatever it is that they've been commissioned to do. And in this one, Mr. Tankard was talking about gospel jazz, and hearing him say about chicken dinners, clearly he was in apostolic holiness type movements where gospel jazz, and just in general at that time, was just not, it wasn't a thing. So until that thing popped off, he had to catch dogs. And sometimes that's what it's about. At the end of the day, being a trailblazer is not easy, but you have to stick with it and know that you've been commissioned to do something that nobody else can do but you. And on that note, we're going to leave out. So I hope you have a great week. Thank you for listening in. Thank you to Mr. Tankard. I will see him hopefully on the red carpet with red shoes and purple socks. Tune in next week on The Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. All right, everybody. So that was the wrap. I apologize. I know y'all couldn't hear anything because it was a call-in interview. But that was Mr. Ben Tankard, and he is one of the 2018 Stellar Honors inductees for the Hall of Fame for the Stellar Awards. So we were talking to him. He was giving us some great information. Please go to my SoundCloud page, because with the SoundCloud page, you can actually hear the interviews. And it'll also be on my website. Charnay's in, she wants to show her face. It's on the website, my SoundCloud page. You can just click on it there. Or you can go to SoundCloud, look up the Leadership Blend, and it'll be up there later today, so you can actually hear the whole show and hear the interview. Great man of God. Looking forward to meeting him on the red carpet. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Next week, it is the interns' turn. They're all getting their own segment, so they have to interview somebody in each segment, and it's kind of their own little show in that segment. So yeah, I will just be sitting here. I won't be doing much of anything. So I'm excited about that because I like when I don't have to do anything. That's the purpose of having interns. So Charnay, say hello to the people because you came in late.
Hey, how you guys doing?
All right, so this is actually going straight up, so you can watch this again. But like I said, you're probably going to want to go to SoundCloud this week because of the interview thing. But thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place, on the Leadership Blend with your host, Trichology Rice.